Bill, welcome back to InvestorStream. It's great to have you back on. In August, you recommenced soil sampling over the Imbin zinc-lead target. Can you give us a picture of the works program that you're undertaking now, and what exactly are you looking for here?
Sure, Alex. Obviously, the work of the discovery of rumble resources on the opposite side of the basin has been very much in the front of our minds and alerting us to the potential for zinc and lead mineralisation on the northern margin of the basin. So we're aware that stratigraphy continues around the margin of the basin, and to our knowledge, there's been no exploration of that style of mineralisation in the area that we're exploring. We're looking at an area where we've got the Frere Formation, which is an iron formation, overlying the lower sequence of the Yelmer, and the iron formation itself has been explored for iron ore, but below that, where the zinc lead is hosted, has seen no exploration. So the last program the program we've just completed was designed to test a 10-kilometre strike length of that particular target, the Frere unconformity. That was a wide-space program, a type of regional exploration program, which we think will give us a good idea of the potential of that particular zone. So it's the first phase of an ongoing process to define anomalies along that 10-kilometre plus stretch of the margin. This is the first stage, as I said. The prospective horizon continues around into adjacent tenements. So we're looking at this as a first pass program, really to find out what the potential might be in that particular area and to follow up any interesting results with infill sampling.
Thanks, Bill. Now, obviously exploring these zinc-lead targets will be highly anticipated given the activities of rumble resources on the other side of the basin. We've spoken at length about the Earaheedy Basin and the major players, of which rumble is one of them. But how far advanced is Lodestar when compared to your Earaheedy counterparts?
I think we're well placed. We're probably the first mover on that northern margin. As far as I'm aware, this sampling program is going to be one of the first effective sampling programs to target that unconformity. And that's just one of our targets. Obviously, the other focus for us is the copper gold, but this is one that may evolve into something quite significant in the future. But I think we're well placed in terms of initial access to the ground, and I think we'll be closely watched in terms of the results of this early stage exploration.
Now, Bill, I understand Lodestar's ground at Imbin has two distinct target mineralisations. Now, we talked about the zinc lead earlier, but also copper gold. And the geophysical work that you're doing at the moment is for the copper gold targets. Can you give us an insight into how you plan to prioritise these targets ahead of drilling?
Okay, well, we've just published our latest results of the preliminary work that we did with the EM data. We've identified at least 15 targets there that we think are viable drill targets. Essentially, that's a total of 15 targets in a total area of 120 square kilometres. So I think those targets deserve to be drilled in their own right as they stand. We need to investigate exactly what is causing the anomalies. We are really interested and pleasantly surprised by the correlation we can see between those anomalies and particular structural features, which we think could be the sources of mineralisation, certainly long-lived structures, which are probably significant in terms of localised mineralisation in the basin. So the work that follows from this program will involve further geophysical interpretation to define targets for drilling specific, like plate models or whatever, giving dips and strikes, so that we can actually target our drilling onto something which is a solid target. But in addition to that, if we wanted to refine our targeting further, we could go in and do geochemistry over some of those targets as well. A lot of them lie under sand cover, and they're removed from any of the historic exploration. So basically virgin territory. The style of geochemistry we're using out there is designed to be effective under areas of cover, particularly in sand-covered terrains. So that's one possibility we can follow to try and define the targets more tightly over what might be these geophysical anomalies. In addition to that, we can go in with ground geophysics again to target these things more effectively. If the data from the airborne EM cannot be resolved sufficiently to define tight targets, then we can go in and do land surveys. So that'll be the program going forward. Finalise our interpretation of this preliminary data and the final data we received. Make sure that we are confident in the targets that we've identified there in terms of their validity and their robustness in terms of drilling targets, and then go in as we see fit with other geochemical surveying or land-based geophysics. But in addition to that, there's also some targets which lie in areas where we have got coverage from historic drilling and surface geochemistry. So obviously going to be analysing that fairly closely to see how they correlate with those anomalies and using them as indicators where possible. And two instances that come to mind are the areas around the main Gossan. There's one directly north west along strike and one directly southeast along strike. So those sort of features, which are within close proximity, relatively within to known mineralisation, are going to be high priority for targets for drilling anyway, regardless of their other parameters. So we see those as sort of clear early targets, and others also on the northeastern end of the area that we surveyed again are close to areas which have had exploration coverage in the past, so they're not directly targeted. So we're going to be interested to see what anomalies may exist around those as well. So there's a sequence of events here which revolve around looking at the targets in the context of existing exploration coverage, and those targets which lie outside areas of existing exploration coverage, using other methods to, if necessary, to define them more tightly.
Thanks, Bill. And just finally, I'm sure this is a question that you get quite often, but when do you expect drills to be spinning at Imbin?
The thing is, we can do a number of those steps in parallel. So obviously, we're attempting to get the tenement granted ASAP. That's a priority. In addition to that, we can outline the program that we believe we're going to follow to get to the point where we're drilling, and we're going to do that, as the other side of the tenement grant is progressing. So I see the fundamental steps will be to one, tenement grant, outlining our program so that we can actually give the heritage teams an idea of the program that we have planned for that area, which will involve getting access to them, recovering the tracks, access tracks. There's been no exploration out there for 11 years, so they're in not necessarily a state of disrepair, but certainly overgrown in places. So we need to be able to get people out there to those points efficiently. We need to get POWs in place for the work programs as well. So all those things will go through the normal statutory approval process, and getting heritage teams out on the ground to give us clearance into the specific drill sites that we identify. So that's what we're concentrating on. Along with getting the tenement grant, we're going to be looking at getting people aware of our future plans, and getting things in place so that when that tenement is granted, we're actually ready to go and press the button and get things moving on the ground.
Fantastic, Bill. Really appreciate the updates, and all the best for future developments.
Thanks, Alex.